Welcome to the Finer Things Poetry Club. This is a gift to all my Lodi Library patrons who missed out on National Poetry Month. I'm so sorry that this happened. So the Finer Things Poetry Club is named after that Office episode. I don't know if you guys watch The Office, but it was like Pam and Oscar and Toby started this book club in the break room, and the only requirement is that you actually read and talk about the book, and that you bring a snack that doesn't involve plastic or paper. So they had like little cakes on like a tiered tray. It was pretty cute. So I would say right now, use this as an excuse to treat yourself somehow. I have my cup of tea in an actual ceramic cup, and some leftover Easter candy, so, please do so. Also, the poetry that I'm reading is really for adults, so I would say if you have kids around, maybe you want to pop in your earbuds and listen that way. What else was I going to say? So the books that we ordered for National Poetry Month, they were all really beautiful books that we're so excited to share with you guys. So what I did is I sent out requests for permission to read from these books, just a few selections, so that you can enjoy them since we're not circulating them right now. But we will eventually. So today's book, I want to thank Grey Wolf Press for giving me permission to read from Life on Mars by Tracy K. Smith. And it's actually one of my favorites. I'm looking over at my own bookshelf over here, and I can see this exact book over there that I own. So I think what I'm going to do is read a little from her bio and reviews of the book from the Grey Wolf Press website. Then I'm going to read 3 selections from the book, and then I'm going to offer you a few writing prompts, maybe if you want to write your own prose or poetry. And I invite you to contact me. My email is youth@lodilibrary.net, and if you want to either send me your poetry in writing, or even better, send me a video of you reciting your poetry, and we'll put it on YouTube or on our library's Facebook page, if that's okay with you. Or you could just share it with me privately, and it doesn't have to go any further. Okay, so here we go, Tracy K. Smith. So, Life on Mars was the winner of the Pulitzer Prize. A collection of bold, skillful poems, taking readers into the universe and moving them to an authentic mix of joy and pain. I know that she wrote this book shortly after the death of her father, who worked on the Hubble telescope. So there's a lot of grief and a lot of outer space in these poems. With allusions to David Bowie and interplanetary travel, Life on Mars imagines a soundtrack for the universe to accompany the discoveries, failures, and oddities of human experience. In these brilliant new poems, Tracy K. Smith envisions a sci-fi future sucked clean of any real dangers, contemplates the dark matter that keeps people both close and distant, and revisits the kitschy concepts like love and illness, now relegated to the Museum of Obsolescence. These poems reveal the realities of life living here on the ground, where a daughter is imprisoned in the basement by her own father, where celebrities and pop stars walk amongst us, and where the poet herself loses her father, one of the engineers who worked on the Hubble Space Telescope. With this remarkable third collection, Smith establishes herself among the best poets of her generation. Tracy K. Smith is the author of Wade in the Water, Life on Mars, winner of the Pulitzer Prize, Duende, winner of the James Laughlin Award, The Body's Question, winner of the Cavemen Canaan Poetry Prize. She's also the editor of an anthology, American Journal 50 Poems of Our Time, and the author of a memoir, Ordinary Light, which I'd really like to read. It was a finalist for the National Book Award. From 2017 to 2019, Smith served as the Poet Laureate of the United States. She teaches at Princeton University. So, exciting. Alright, you guys ready for some finer things? The first poem that I chose, it's called My God, It's Full of Stars. And this poem has like 5 parts, so, settle in. Part 1. We like to think of it as a parallel to what we know, only bigger. One man against the authorities, or one man against a city of zombies. One man, who is not in fact a man, sent to understand the caravan of men now chasing him like red ants, let loose down the pants of America, man on the run. Man with a ship to catch, a payload to drop, this message going out to all of outer space, though maybe it's more like life below the sea, silent, buoyant, bizarrely benign, relics of an outmoded design. Some like to imagine a cosmic mother watching through a spray of stars. Mouthing, yes, yes, as we toddle toward the light, biting her lip if we teeter at some ledge, longing to sweep us up to her breast, she hopes for the best. While the father storms through adjacent rooms, ranting with the force of kingdom come, not caring anymore what might snap us in his jaws. Sometimes what I see is a library in a rural community. All the tall shelves in the big open room, and the pencils in a cup at circulation, gnawed on by the entire population. The books have lived here all along, belonging for weeks at a time to one or another of the brief sequence of family names, speaking at night mostly to a face, a pair of eyes, the most remarkable lies. Part 2. Charleston Heston is waiting to be let in. He asked once politely, a second time with force from the diaphragm, the third time he did it like Moses. Arms raised high, face of an apocalyptical white, shirt crisp, suit trim. He stoops a little coming in. Then he grows tall, he scans the room. He stands until I gesture, and then he sits. Birds commence in their evening chatter, and someone fires charcoals out below. He'll take a whiskey if I have it, water if I don't. I ask him to start from the beginning. But he goes only halfway back. That was the future once, he said, before the world went upside down. Hero, survivor, God's right-hand man, I know he sees the blank surface of the moon where I see a language built from brick and bone. He sits straight in his seat, takes a long, slow, high thespian breath, and then he lets it go. For all I know, I was the last true man on this earth, and may I smoke? The voices outside soften. Planes jet past, heading off or back. Someone cries that she does not want to go to bed. Footsteps overhead. A fountain in the neighbor's yard babbles to itself, and the night air lifts the sound indoors. It was another time, he says, picking up again. We were pioneers. Will you fight to stay alive here, riding the earth toward God knows where? I think of Atlantis buried under ice, gone one day from sight, the shore from which it rose, now glacial and stark. Our eyes adjust to the dark. Part 3. Perhaps the great error is believing we're alone, that the others have come and gone, a momentary blip, when all along space might be chock full of traffic. Bursting at the seams with energy we neither feel nor see, flush against us, living, dying, deciding, setting solid feet down on planets everywhere, bowing to the great stars that command, pitching stones at whatever are their moons. They live wondering if they are the only ones, knowing only the wish to know, and the great black distance we flicker in. Maybe the dead know, their eyes widening at last, seeing the high beams of a million galaxies flick on at twilight, hearing the engines flare, the horns not letting up, the frenzy of being. I want it to be one notch below Bedlam, like a radio without a dial, wide open so everything floods in at once, and sealed tight so nothing escapes. Not even time, which should curl in on itself and loop around like smoke, so that I might be sitting now beside my father, and he raises a lit match to the bowl of his pipe. for the first time in the winter of 1959. Part 4. In those last scenes of Kubrick's 2001, when Dave is whisked to the center of space, which unfurls in an aurora of orgasmic light, before opening wide like a jungle orchid for a love-struck bee, then goes liquid, paint and water, and then gauze, wafting out and off. Finally, the night tide, luminescent and vague, swirls in and on and on. In those last scenes, as he floats above Jupiter's vast canyons and seas, over the lava-strewn plains and mountains packed in ice, that whole time he doesn't blink. In his little ship, blind to what he rides, whisked across the wide screen of unparceled time, who knows what blazes through his mind? Is it still his life he moves through, or does that end at the end of what he can name? On set, it's shot after shot till Kubrick is happy. Then the costumes go back on their racks, and the great gleaming set goes to black. Part 5. When my father worked on the Hubble telescope, he said they operated like surgeons, scrubbed and sheathed in papery green, the room a clean, cold, and bright white. He'd read Larry Niven at home, and drink scotch on the rocks, his eyes exhausted and pink. These were the Reagan years, when we lived with our finger on the button, and struggled to view our enemies as children. My father spent whole seasons bowing before the oracle eye, hungry for what it would find. His face lit up whenever anyone asked, and his arms would rise as if he were weightless, perfectly at ease in the never-ending night of space. On the ground we tied postcards to balloons for peace. Prince Charles married Lady Di. Rock Hudson died. We learned new words for things. The decade changed. The first few pictures came back blurred. I felt ashamed for all the cheerful engineers, my father and his tribe. The second time the optics jibed, we saw to the edge of all that there is. So brutal and alive, it seemed to comprehend us back. The next selection I'm going to read for you is called Don't You Wonder Sometimes. This one is in 3 parts. 1. After dark, stars glisten like ice, and the distance they span hides something elemental, not God exactly, more like some thin-hipped, glittering Bowie beating, a starman, or cosmic ace, hovering, swaying, aching to make us see. And what would we do, you and I, if we could know for sure that someone was there squinting through the dust, saying nothing is lost, that everything lives on, waiting only to be back badly enough? Would you go then, even for a few nights, into that other life where you and that first she loved, blind to the future once, and happy? Would I put on my coat and return to the kitchen where my mother and father sat waiting, dinner keeping warm on the stove? Bowie will never die. Nothing will come for him in his sleep, or charging through his veins, and he'll never grow old. Just like the woman you lost, who will always be dark-haired and flush-faced, running toward an electronic screen that clocks the minutes, the miles left to go, just like the life in which I'm forever a child. Looking out my window at the night sky, thinking one day I'll touch the world with bare hands, even if it burns. Part 2. He leaves no tracks. Slips past, quick as a cat. That's Bowie for you. The Pope of Pop, coy as Christ. Like a play within a play, he's trademarked twice. The hours plink past like water from a window AC. We sweat it out, teach ourselves to wait. Silently, lazily, collapse happens, but not for Bowie. He cocks his head, grins that wicked grin. Time never stops, but does it end? How many lives before takeoff, before we find ourselves, beyond ourselves, all glam glow, all twinkle and gold? The future isn't what it used to be. Even Bowie thirsts for something good and cold. Jets blink across the sky like migratory souls. Part 3. Bowie is among us, right here in New York City, in a baseball cap and expensive jeans. ducking into a deli, flashing all those teeth at the doorman on his way up, or he's hailing a taxi on Lafayette. As the sky clouds over at dusk, he's in no rush, doesn't feel the way you think he feels, doesn't strut or gloat, tells jokes. I've lived here all these years and never seen him. Like not knowing a comet from a shooting star, but I'll bet he burns bright, dragging a tail of white-hot matter, the way some of us track tissue back from the toilet stall. He's got the whole world under his foot, and we are small alongside, although there are occasions when a man his size can meet your eyes, for just a blip of time, and send a thought, like shine, 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 straight to your mind. Bowie, I want to believe you. I want to feel your will like the wind before the rain, the kind everything simply obeys, swept up in that hypnotic dance, as if something with the power to do so had looked its way and said, go ahead. This piece is called Challenger. She gets herself so wound up, I think she likes it, like a wrung rag or a wire wrapped round itself into a spring. And the pressure, the brute strength it takes to hold things that way, to keep them from straightening out, is up to her to maintain. She's like a kettle about to blow. All that steam anxious to rise and go, I tire myself watching it happen. The eyes alive with their fury against the self, the words swelling in the chest, and then the voice racing into anyone's face. She likes to hear it. Her throat hoarse with nonsense, and the story that must get told again and again, no matter. Blast off, she likes to think, though what comes to mind at the moment is earthly, a local wind, chill and small. This last one is called The Universe as Primal Scream. 5 p.m. on the nose. They open their mouths and it rolls out, high, shrill and metallic. First the boy, then his sister. Occasionally they both let loose at once, and I think of putting on my shoes to go up and see whether it is merely an experiment their parents have been conducting upon the good crystal, which must surely lie shattered to dust on the floor. Maybe the mother is still proud of the 4 pink lungs she nursed to such might. Perhaps, if they hit the magic decibel, the whole building will lift off and will ride to glory like Elijah. If this is it, if this is what their cries are cocked toward, let the sky pass from blue to red to molten gold to black, and let the heaven we inherit approach. Whether it is our dead in the Old Testament robes, or a door opening into the roiling infinity of space, whether it will bend down to greet us like a father or swallow us like a furnace, I'm ready to meet what refuses to let us keep anything for long, what teases us with blessings, bends us with grief. Wizard, thief, the great wind rushing to knock our mirrors to the floor, to sweep our short lives clean. How mean our racket seems beside it. My stereo on shuffle, the neighbor chopping onions through a wall, all of it just a hiccup against what may never come for us. And the kids upstairs, still at it, screaming like the dawn of man, as if something they have no name for has begun to insist upon being born. So those were a few selections from Life on Mars, and before you know it, we'll be able to open our doors and we'll be able to circulate this book. I just quickly wanted to offer you a few writing prompts that I came up with. I tried to keep them having to do with kind of the sci-fi theme. So here they are, and I will include them in the show notes as well. So if you don't remember them, don't worry about it. The prompts are as follows. The birth of a star child. The journey toward entropy. The decision to release payload. What happens at a sky party? Does Uranus have a sense of humor? What is a small step as compared to a giant leap? So happy writing, enjoy your tea, and send me an email if you create anything that we might want to share. All right, have a good day.